Let's bring in Joe Penney, who is a journalist and co-founder at the Sahelian.com in New York. Good to speak to you, Joe. Thanks for being with us on the programme. So tell us, why has this coup happened now? What's really behind it?
So there have been protests for the past few months against Keita's government. Keita was elected about 7 years ago. He's been re-elected since then. Under his tenure, there's been rising insecurity in the country. So while there was originally insecurity issues in the north, that's now spread to the center of the country, Mopti region, as well as Segu region, Kai region, and even the capital, Bamako. So that's one thing. Another thing is that recently, earlier this year, he held legislative elections during the pandemic, which a lot of people criticized. And those elections were widely considered fraudulent. He had changed, the Constitutional Court had overturned a number of parliament elections that had placed his candidates in power, including the head of the parliament, the president of parliament. So those elections were considered fraudulent. Out of that contestation, this group called M5 was formed. They had taken to the streets for a number of weeks, including some of the biggest protests that Mali's seen in years prior to this coup. They all had the support of a number of civil society organizations, opposition groups, and the second most popular imam in the country. And so there was a rising mass of people that were just really fed up with Keita's government. Add that to
Sorry, go ahead.
Add that to the economic devastation that's been caused by COVID-19. So Mali relies on its cotton industry. It's the #2 industry in the country. That economy, that industry has been entirely devastated because of coronavirus and the fall in demand of cotton. So a lot of people are suffering right now. And so that's why you see a lot of support for the coup in the streets of Bamako.
Well, I was just going to ask you to expand on that a little, actually. The coup has been condemned internationally, but how has it been received within Mali? Has it been welcomed?
So that's totally normal that a coup is condemned internationally, and it's according to ECOWAS, which is the West African regional bloc. They call for suspension of any state that has had a coup. So does AU. So that makes sense. But the people in the country, by and large, have seemed to welcome this coup because they are completely fed up with Keita's corruption and misgovernance and the rising insecurity, the rising cost of living, and the no solution in sight. So whether or not this coup will lead to a better form of governance, that remains to be seen, of course.
Well, coup leaders... Sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to say that coup leaders have promised elections as part of that suggestion, but how likely are they to happen, do you think?
Well, I think that they're probably likely. In West Africa, there's many cases where coup leaders step into power, form a provisional government, and then hold elections within 1 or 2 years, usually. It's just that in 2012, Mali had a similar situation where coup leaders stepped in, and that gave a political void for jihadist groups to come in and take over the north of the country when they allied with Tuareg separatist groups. So what people are really worried about is if this leaves a similar vacancy in terms of the security apparatus whereby these jihadist groups can gain control. So that's definitely on a lot of people's minds when they're thinking about the possible negative consequences of this coup.
OK, many thanks for joining us. Joe Penney from Sahelian.com.
Thank you.